Welcome to a new edition of Recently Bought Games in a new kind of format. I want to try it in this way to see how it would work, and then if it doesn't work, I'll switch back to how I did it before. So without further ado, let's get into the gums. Let's do it. So I have 3 PC games, the first being Diablo 2, and this is my first actual Diablo experience because the first Diablo game I played was Diablo 3, and it wasn't the actual game, it was a demo of Diablo 3, so that was my first experience of Diablo, but this is my first actual playing a full game of Diablo, if that makes sense. So this is the multi-Uzumi dual case version, and there's a rather annoying story with the case. I bought this from a charity shop and it was 99p. It was all complete and it had all the discs and there wasn't like a scratch on it, and the case was in pretty decent condition, and I was coming home and the bag like split and the case fell on the floor and it's broken. So a really decent condition Diablo 2 it just broke on the floor and it shattered. It's not terrible, but I might end up replacing the case and replacing the sticker and stuff. So with my experience with Diablo 2, I kind of enjoy it so far. I haven't played it for quite a while, but what I have played, I have really enjoyed it. If you haven't played Diablo before, then it's basically at a isometric view, I think. You're pretty much just thrown into this open world and you have to go explore and level up and go through dungeons and equip new items and stuff, and I think there's like 4 different classes you can start with, and I chose the warrior because I'm kind of generic and that's the one I usually go for. So you go from there and you go through all the story and stuff, and I haven't finished it yet, but again, what I have played of it, I really enjoyed, and it is a pretty good game. The next 2 games are 2 big box PC games, and I think one of them is complete and one of them is missing manuals and things, but otherwise it's got like the game and stuff. So the first one is Thief 2. There's an issue with this and I haven't been able to get it run on either my Windows 7 hard drive or my Windows 10 hard drive. So I don't know how to really get Thief 2 to work like at all. If anyone does, then by all means give me a shout and I'll try it. So I haven't played it, so I have no idea how it really plays. I haven't played Thief before, but it was a big box Thief game and I wanted to try it for once because, you know, I haven't tried it before. And the other was a big box Unreal Tournament, original Unreal Tournament, but this isn't complete. It just has the disc in it, and which is okay. I'm not all that fussed about it. It's just that it's a big box Unreal Tournament, and it's kind of uncommon to really see this anyway, like a big box UET. I'm just happy that I have this. It's not the most common thing to find. I just leave it at that, but I have no idea on the rarity, but I just found it and really wanted it. Interesting thing, in the same shop, they also had a bunch of other big box PC games. They had Duke Nukem 3D, and I can't remember other ones they had, but they had a bunch of big box PC games in the second-hand shop, and I really wanted them, but I could only afford like 1 or 2, so the one I got was Unreal Tournament. So it would have been nice to have the Duke Nukem 3D and some other one, I can't remember what it is, but it would have been nice to have that as well, but I just took the UET one. So I have one PSP game, and because I haven't spoken enough about Kingdom Hearts recently, we have a special edition Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. I've mentioned this before quite a while ago in one of my other recently bought games videos, but Square has done these sorts of things quite a lot for some reason. I can't remember the exact reason why, but they've done a lot of special editions of their PSP games, and it's only really been their PSP games they've really done this with. They didn't really do it with like console versions or anything like that. It's only really been PSP. 2 other ones I have are Tactics Ogre and I can't remember the other one at the moment. But either way, they did this quite a lot with a lot of their PSP games, and what this one in specific has, because some of them have soundtracks, some of them have artwork, and some of them have books and such and such. I kind of like this one because it has a different artwork for the case, which I kind of like. It's a rather like shiny kind of case compared to the original one. For some reason, I really like the shiny versions of Kingdom Hearts cases instead of the original. They just look better in my opinion. But it comes with a slightly different designed artwork for the case, and it also comes with some pieces of artwork, some sort of like lithograph sort of things, and a artwork book. It's called The Art of Birth by Sleep, and it's got like screenshots and concept designs and things in, and I'm always down for those sorts of things. It looks pretty cool, so yay. So that's enough Kingdom Hearts for like another week. Let's go on to the next thing.
Nintendo 64.
So the next one is Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. This is pretty much a complete Majora's Mask for the N64. Original gold cart, original manual, everything is pretty much there, I think. And this is another one of those cases of it's really uncommon to see something like this just hanging around in the wild, so you kind of have to pick it up when you can. The manual is a bit beaten up, and so is the inlay for the cartridge, but the cartridge itself is in really decent condition, and judging from the rest of the box, it's kind of surprising that it's in the condition it's in. Another interesting thing to like mini story times, but another really interesting, well, interesting with quotations, story with this Majora's Mask is that there was also a bunch of other N64 games in this shop at the same time. If you live in the UK, you know of a shop called CEX, and a bunch of people just bring in a bunch of stuff and sell it there and get money or in-store credit or whatever, which is terrible because it only lasts about a week, but anyway. So with this Majora's Mask, there was also a bunch, and I mean a ton of other N64 games. There was Smash Bros, the original Smash Bros, there was Mario Party 2 or 3, there was the original, there was Star Fox 64 or Lilac Wars in the UK. There was a ton of N64 games, really popular N64 games, and the only one I could afford at the time was Majora's Mask, so I decided to get that. It's kind of annoying that I don't have an expansion pack because I would have played that. I've already played Majora's Mask on my 3DS and I haven't finished it yet, but it would have been nice to have played the original. That would have been something I would have really enjoyed to have done. But that was crazy that day. Just a complete in-box Majora's Mask just hanging around in CX is crazy. Two GameCube games. The first one is kind of interesting because I'm kind of intrigued to know how it got to this charity shop. And the first one is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And the reason I kind of question how it got to this charity shop is because it's the NTSC version. The only thing that can kind of come to mind when I think of how this could have got to a charity shop instead of like a gaming exclusive shop is that there's a possibility that someone might have bought this off of eBay thinking it was the PAL version, and when it arrived it was the NTSC version. Just out of curiosity's sake, I bought it just to see if I could play it on my GameCube and, you know, region lock and stuff. So if I can find a region-free disc for the GameCube, then I'd play this one day. But it's just Prisoner of Azkaban. It's not really hugely sought after, and it's not one of the best like movie tie-in games ever, but it was something. Plus it was an NTSC GameCube game. I bought it just so I could have an NTSC GameCube game. Isn't that interesting? And the other one is Metroid Prime Echoes. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. Now, I really enjoyed Metroid Prime 1. I still haven't kind of finished it yet because it's kind of gone into my backlog of games I need to finish when I start playing new ones. But it plays a lot similar to Metroid Prime 1, and from what I've played, it's really, really good. The tone of the game is a lot darker than the original, which I can get down with, and I've always wanted to play Metroid Prime Echoes for some reason. I've had Prime 1 for quite a few years, but Prime 2 I've never had the chance to play, and I've really wanted to play it at some point. I don't know if I'd want to play Prime 3, partially because of the whole Wiimote stuff. I'm not a huge fan of motion controlled stuff, but I still completed Twilight Princess, so, you know, I can't have that much of a problem with it. But, you know, Metroid Prime 2, it's a pretty good game. Metroid Prime 2, it's pretty good.
PlayStation 1.
One PlayStation 1 game, The Italian Job. This is kind of one of those games that I have a childhood memory with, and the closest thing I can kind of relate it to is Driver. Is it called Driver? Yeah, I'm thinking of Driver, yeah. I think that's the one I'm thinking about. So you're pretty much stuck in a car through the whole game, and you're driving around London in minis and whatever. I can't remember if there's more than one kind of car, but yeah, there's more than one car. But you're driving around London, and it's mission based, and you go to different parts of London for different missions. And it's not this complete open world. I can't remember. I don't think it is, but it's not a complete open world. It's kind of sectioned off into different areas for different missions. But this is one of those childhood memory games for me because, well, I had a bunch of demo discs, and for some reason, demo discs are the games that you kind of remember the most because you want to play those games properly, but you never can. So they're just lost to obscurity, and then you find them one day and you're like, oh, I wanted to play this a lot. The Italian Job was on one of those discs, and there's another game as well. Quick side note, there was Net Eurose game, and if you don't know, that's like a PS1 made specifically for making custom games at home. Homebrews, that's what it's called. One of the games on there was Terra Incognito, and it was this really cool little puzzle game, and I can always remember like going to my neighbors and playing it. It was weird because I always thought that was a full game, and there's this whole dumb story about it, and I was looking for it for ages and didn't realize it was a Net Eurose game, so kind of disappointed when I found out it was just a demo disc exclusive, but you know. So anyway, The Italian Job is one of the games on his demo discs that I always played, and then it was like 1 or 2 missions that you could play. I played those demos a lot, and one dumb memory I can remember is that it wouldn't work with analog controls. You like had to press the button to turn the analog on, so it was one of those games, or you had to turn it off, I can't remember, but it was one of those games where it worked with the D-pad and kind of freaked out if the analog button was working or something. So I had that, then I found I think it was a disc-only copy of The Italian Job, and then I lost that somehow, I think, and then I got this from a charity shop, and the case is kind of broken. It's not the most pretty thing I've ever seen, but it's a childhood memory, and it's one of those games that I really wanted to get to like bring back memories of playing it as a kid and stuff, so yeah, it's just one of those games. Nowhere near one of the tightest driving games I've played, but it's just a childhood memory.
I hate to think what Mr. Bridger is going to say about this.
PlayStation 4.
On to PlayStation 4, Dragon Quest Builders. I've made like 2 videos about this. It's kind of fun. Very, very reminiscent of Minecraft. If you played Minecraft or you played Terraria or something like that, and you probably enjoyed playing Dragon Quest Builders. I still need to finish the story. I still haven't got past chapter 2 of the game, so I really do need to finish this and like complete the story and stuff. But for some reason with me, I tend to do more building than playing the game. It's probably not the best thing to do when it comes to these kinds of games, but it's a fun, dumb reason to have more physical PS4 games, which is something that I'm kind of getting disappointed with. Like, too many people are buying digital games only, and it means that these like physical games like this that aren't in the forefront are kind of like left back because people think that people don't really care about them. So you kind of have to go to like the back alley shops to find anything that you want to have on a physical PS4 disc. In some ways, I kind of think that digital downloading is like killing the market somewhat, but it took me like a while to find. Actually, no, I bought Dragon Quest Builders on Amazon because I couldn't find it in a shop. Not a lot of people would have really cared about Dragon Quest Builders, so there wasn't a high demand for it. It's just that I couldn't find it in a shop. They didn't stock it anywhere. It's nice to see these dumb sort of games still being released as physical games. 3D Game Heroes also kind of comes to mind when I talk about these sorts of things. It's a game to be a game, not to be an experience or anything. It's just something to mess around with for a bit. But anyway, there was enough talking about Dragon Quest Builders. Next, this is Final Fantasy 15, the special edition, and I didn't intend to get this one, but it was the only one I could find. And I'm not the hugest fan of steelbook cases for games, but it was the only one that I could really get without having to pay through the nose to get this game. And just as a little tidbit, it came with some extra little things like a katana or whatever it is. And it also came with some other things, like I think it was just exclusive to the special edition, I can't remember, but it was pretty cool to get this. So let's talk about Final Fantasy 15 for a bit. So the game's really fun. I haven't finished it yet, much like a lot of the games that I've bought recently. I have a nasty habit of not finishing games, but that changes with the next game. So if I can remember where I got to the place, it's kind of like Venice. I can't remember the exact place, but it's with like the Civil War starting and you have to like defeat the Hydra and stuff. So that's where I've got to at the moment. I'm not sure how far that is into the game, but I've done a lot of side quests. I've fart-assed around a lot with chocobos, and I've leveled up my chocobo quite a bit and stuff, and I've done quite a bit that's not kind of related to the story, but you know, it's stuff. And this game kind of has like sunk me in, and I kind of really enjoy playing it. But I've heard like mixed things about 15, because some people have been saying that you kind of get fatigue after playing it for a while because it's kind of repetitive and stuff, and then other people were like, oh, but you can just like go off and do other things for a bit and then come back to the story. And I don't know, I want to play it at my own pace, and I don't want to worry about what other people have said about the game. I just kind of want to enjoy it for what it is. Side note, this is a thing that I noticed for some reason as well, but I've bought like 3 PS4 games made by Square, and I don't know why. I don't know why I got drawn to Square last year, but it was weird. And that's not the last of it either, because there's another Square game coming out at the end of the month. Ooh, I like this game. The Last Guardian, there's a lot I want to say about The Last Guardian, and I kind of want to make a review on it specifically just to talk about why I like The Last Guardian. Is it to the caliber of like Eco and Shadow of the Colossus, where it's got a lasting memory and the whole game is completely tight? And in some aspects, yes, the game does kind of hold up to a certain extent with Eco and Shadow of the Colossus, but to a certain degree with the gameplay and the controls and getting Trico to do what you want him to do, no, it doesn't work 100%, and this is why I want to make a review on it, because I've tried to like stay away from it and up to release, and I've only really gone on to The Last Guardian with the ideas from what Team Eco had done with Eco. So I was going into it expecting it to be like Eco, and I wasn't disappointed really. I kind of really enjoyed it after playing Eco. And I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil the story or anything. I really enjoyed the story. It's minimalistic, which is kind of like Team Eco's style when making games. The story is minimalistic, you have to like piece it together, and the world of The Last Guardian is really, really interesting, and I really like it. So if you get the chance to get The Last Guardian, then play it, because this is really an experience. You might get frustrated with some things, but this game is really something you should play and not listen to reviews for. You should make your own opinion about The Last Guardian, but it's just one of those games. You kind of have to play it and form your own opinion about The Last Guardian. It's kind of a muddy sort of game to draw a conclusion to, but really good game. I would really recommend getting it if you love Team Eco and you love those sorts of games, but please, no spoilers, because the ending, there's like, ooh, the ending's really, really good. Last PS4 game is The World of Final Fantasy, another game that I haven't finished yet. This is weird for The World of Final Fantasy because I haven't gotten into Final Fantasy games before 15. I played 13 and hated it. I really didn't like 13, but I really like 15, which is weird because the whole gameplay is different, so actually it's kind of understandable. But the thing that kind of deterred me from playing Final Fantasy before was the quote-unquote turn-based thing, you know, the cooldown. I didn't like that. That kind of made me not want to play Final Fantasy, and case in point, I don't like 7 because of the whole cooldown mechanic. And it's blasphemy, I know, but I don't like Final Fantasy 7 because of that. If I could look past that and play it, I could probably enjoy it more. But for some reason, I really enjoyed playing World of Final Fantasy. I can't remember exactly where I've got to again. I think I've gotten to an oasis or something, a desert town or something. I can't remember, but I've heard mixed things about this game in terms of how long the game is. Some people are saying it's really short, some people are saying it's really long. I'm talking like 30 hours-ish short. I don't know, it looks like there's a lot of content in the game, but I just liked it because it looked fucking cute. And for some reason with like this day one edition thing, there's this Chibi Sephiroth and some other characters as well. There's a white chocobo and a Moogle and some other things as well, and I like the stacking mechanic. The stacking mechanic is pretty cool. I can't remember the names of the characters, but I have one as Chibi form and one as normal form. They're twins. That's the most I can remember, but I can't remember the names. But yeah, I really enjoyed World of Final Fantasy. I just need to finish it because I think like Final Fantasy 15 came out. No, it was like a bunch of Square games coming out. It was Dragon Quest Builders came out first. Then it was World of Final Fantasy. Then I kind of stopped playing Dragon Quest Builders to play World of Final Fantasy, and then 15 came out, and then I stopped playing World of Final Fantasy to play 15. That's kind of the knock-on effect that it has to me for, like, playing games. It's weird.
This is it!
So, finally, we have a mini NES. Here's my gripe with the name of the NES Classic Mini. It's not classic. The NES Classic is classic. The original NES, like the big fat NES that I have on my desk, that's the classic NES. You can't have a classic NES that's new. Do you know how dumb that sounds? But I have very small gripes with this. One, the cable length. It's not that much of an issue because I play it with it on my desk, so it's literally right in front of me, so I can just play it anyway. But the cable isn't that much of an issue, but it's kind of, it would have been nice to have had it a bit longer like the original NES controller. Also price. The price is silly, ridiculously dumb. So I paid 70 for mine, and ooh, did I feel that in my wallet? Because the original is, well, I can't remember if it was 60 or 70 that I paid for. I think it was 60 actually. Because these are super goddamn expensive for some reason, and I hate the fact that it's so expensive. But it's dumb because it's literally just a plug and play. And the games that you get on here, you can just get on the eShop anyway. The fact that it's so expensive boggles me for some reason. But it says that there's 30 games pre-installed. Pre-installed kind of insinuates that you can put more on it for some reason to me. I don't know why. But for some reason, saying that there's pre-installed games on it kind of it implies to me that you can put more on it. It's dumb. But just to read some of the games that you can play on it, there's Mario Bros, there's Zelda 1, Zelda 2, there's Pac-Man, there's Kirby's Adventure, Donkey Kong 1 and 2, original Metroid, which I want to play pretty bad, Mega Man 2, I think 1 is on there, Final Fantasy, Castlevania, Shadow Warrior, Punch-Out, and Super Mario 3, 1 and 2. And the original Mario Bros as well, which I've kind of found kind of interesting. The arcade one. So for me, it plays fine. I don't really have a problem with it. I guess like there might be latency issues with controls and stuff, but for me, it's fine. I don't really have an issue with it. It's interesting because it outputs in 720p, and that's pretty cool for a little plug and play sort of thing. And outputting in 720p is a really nice little feature that I kind of like. Truth be told, I was kind of cautious about it to begin with. For some reason, I wasn't entirely sure how it was going to look, but it looks really crisp and looks really, really nice. There's filters you can put on the screen. It looks really cool. The absolute main gripe I have with this, no power supply. There's no way to plug this into the mains unless you have a USB cable power supply that you have laying around somewhere. It comes with a USB cable, but no power supply, which is stupid. I know Nintendo did sell these with power supplies because America got them, but for some reason we didn't get them, and it even says on the box that AC adapter is not included, which is dumb. Don't do that, Nintendo. People still want power supplies. Don't keep them from us. And they also, I don't know if they did this with the 3DS XL, original 3DS XL in the US, but in the UK we didn't get power supplies either. And it's insane. It's like, why? we still want power supplies. That was my first 3DS, and I didn't have a DSi, I didn't have a DSi XL, so I didn't have the power supply to go with it, so I had to buy it separately. That was stupid. Come on, like, Nintendo, do this. If you sell us the Nintendo Switch without a power supply, I'm coming to Nintendo headquarters and I'm demanding a power supply. So that was all the games that I bought. There's, like I said, a new game coming out at the end of the month I'm definitely getting no matter what. Comes out on the 24th. That should narrow down what game it is. It should have come out last month, but I really wanted it. So, thank you very much for watching. If there's any games that you guys have bought over the last few months, then please tell me down below. These are kind of made specifically to be rambly, and I think with just having a microphone in front of me instead of a camera, I can just talk a bit more openly. I don't feel like I'm being pressured with the camera in front of my face, so I don't know. If this works, then I'll do it again next time, but yeah, so until then, thank you very much for watching, and see ya later. Goodbye.